Welcome to the deep dive. You've handed us something truly remarkable this time. Not a stack of traditional research, but,
Huh?
well, it feels more like the living, breathing documentation of a creative explosion.
It really does.
We're diving into this collection of conversational threads that, piece by piece, spun out an entire narrative universe, all from a single, spectacularly absurd premise.
It's a fascinating case study, isn't it? It shows how quickly a tiny spark, just a simple image, can build layer upon layer through, collaboration,
Right.
adding bizarre logic and unexpected depth as it goes. It's less about uncovering pre-existing facts and more about, well, witnessing world building in real time.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to trace that evolution. How did they get from point A all the way over here to point Z?
Yeah.
What are the key moments that launched the story in these wild new directions? And what can this delightfully strange journey tell us about how ideas grow? Or maybe how chaos finds its own kind of logic? Think of this as your guide to understanding the DNA of spontaneous creativity, filtered through the lens of two old chaps in a chair.
Okay, let's unpack where it all began, the absolute ground zero for this entire saga.
The Big Bang, if you will. So, set the scene. Wigan, a traveling Van Gogh exhibit.
Right.
And in the midst of this, potentially sedate cultural experience, we have John, age 70, and Stamo, age 80.
Just two ordinary blokes dressed like two blokes their age. No fanfare, no crowd initially, no dramatic music, just them standing before a chair, Van Gogh's chair.
And they spot what they think is a mouse on the chair or near it. This is the pivotal moment, right? This is the tiny seed that everything else grows from.
And the reason why they react with such urgency, that's the first unexpected nugget of lore we found. It ties back to a deep-seated cheese guilt.
Ah, yes. The 1962 Wigan post office incident. Young John drops cheese, a mouse appears, baby Stamo screams. A core trauma, basically, manifesting it decades later in a museum.
Yeah. It's almost poignant, isn't it? How unresolved childhood issues lead directly to art destruction. So, fueled by this potential rodent and the lingering dairy-based anxiety, they act.
John goes first, a sort of apologetic tap with his foot. It wobbles a bit.
But Stamo, clearly unimpressed by this geriatric vandalism, decides to commit. He winds up and gives it a full boot.
Catastrophic.
Oh, yeah. The chair doesn't just break, it shatters. And one splinter, like a perfect little narrative projectile, flies directly into a display titled The Quiet Madness of the Artist.
You couldn't write that kind of symmetry? If someone did, collaboratively.
Exactly.
The realization hits them immediately. You've just kicked Van Gogh's bloody chair. Followed by Stamo, predictably, pointing the finger. Well, you kicked it first.
Classic. And then the security guards appear. Silently, just out. Now.
The escape plan, as documented,
Yeah.
is pure cartoon logic. John bellows, "Boys!" They pump their arms. Knees barely clear the ground.
Making this wheezing, triumphant exit, like villains escaping, but much, much slower.
And here's the twist that validates their entire bizarre endeavor. As John flicks a bit of cheese towards a drain outside, a faint squeak answers.
The mouse was real.
The cheese guilt, in its own twisted way, was justified.
But the sources show this was just the prologue. The true expansion begins seconds later, with the entirely unexpected arrival of the ghost of Vincent van Gogh.
Right, floating there, smock, straw hat, luminous blue beard, eyes full of, well, melancholy, obviously.
But also something else.
Yeah. He doesn't lecture them on the value of historical artifacts. Instead, he offers this profound, if contextually bizarre, wisdom. The chair was only wood, but kindness, that is eternal.
And looking at the drain, he tells them, "You did what I could not. You noticed the small life."
A spectral thumbs up, a sunflower blooms from the concrete. It's a moment of absolute narrative genius born from, well, collaborative absurdity.
Their act of destruction is instantly reframed as an act of noticing, of acknowledging the small things. Van Gogh essentially knighted them for trying to save a mouse. And the mouse's story, even quicker arc than Van Gogh's. Fast forward 3 weeks.
Get this.
Mayor M. Squeakson, first rodent mayor of Wigan, is inaugurated at Town Hall, complete with cheering locals and banners.
John and Stamo are there, witnessing the direct, albeit indirect, consequence of their actions. From chaos agents to civic patrons.
From chair kickers to kingmakers, as the sources put it.
Right. The museum even leans into it, creating a permanent exhibit of the chair shards under a mouse statue, Destruction and Discovery.
Mayor Squeakson's political platform, detailed in the sources, is this beautiful blend of rodent priorities and surprisingly progressive policy.
Yeah, like cheese shared, glue traps outlawed.
Pantries for all, restoring local bus timetables, funding art by non-traditional artists.
Pascal-Santis. And the core promise, let no squeak go unheard.
Naturally, this kind of instant folk hero status leads to merchandise.
Of course. Trucker hats with ears, scratch and sniff cheese t-shirts.
The inauguration dioramas, talking keychains, and the Van Gogh ghost plush that whispers affirmations. It's the sign of a true cultural phenomenon taking root.
And this wasn't just a quirky one-off. The sources clearly show this initial incident spiral outwards, generating an entire shared universe.
The first major branching path, political intrigue, the Squeakgate scandal emerges.
Ah, yes. Investigative reporter Gillian Strongfold uncovers Mayor Squeakson's shadowy world of cheddar, laundering through raffle circuits and undeclared Stilton. It gets serious.
The stakes escalate quickly. This leads to Squeakson's dramatic flight from justice in a makeshift hot air balloon crafted from Tesco bags and biscuit tins. High-stakes political satire, rodent style.
Simultaneously, the narrative expands into animation with Chair Kicker's legacy.
Described as a claymation 2D hybrid with a theme song by The Fall, perfect tone-setting detail there.
So good. It follows John, now defined by 3 scarves and unfinished proverbs. Stimo, an ex-dance instructor with a pickle juice thermos.
The fugitive tech whiz Mayor Squeakson, with a Wi-Fi tail, and young Van Gogh, back as a backward-speaking psychic pigeon. Of course.
Naturally, the episode titles alone tell you everything. Attack of the Council forms, the chair strikes back.
The inanimate object strikes back. This animation phase cemented the idea of the chair itself becoming an antagonist, leading directly into the Chair Kicker's cinematic universe.
Yes, the CKCU. The sources lay out a full chronology, phases and all. Films like the original Chair Kickers, the sequel, Squeak of Power.
And The Ghost of Go, where Van Gogh's specter possesses a tram conductor to paint prophetic street art.
Phase 2 brings us unexpected genres, like the musical A Brush with Madness and the courtroom drama Squeakgate, the Trial of the Tiny.
Where John and Stamo, somehow Squeakson's legal defense team, navigate Cheese Court, a guinea pig jury.
And a legally binding courtroom freestyle rap battle between Stamo and Gillian Strongfold. The sources don't just state this happened, they give us details.
It's the specificity within the absurdity that makes it stick.
Totally. Phase 3 then ventures into cosmic territory with the Van Gogh dimension, taking the characters into a universe contained within a digestive biscuit, the Principality.
All culminating, for this phase at least, in Chair Kickers, the last plank, with a final showdown in a Wigan B&Q car park.
As you do.
And Mayor Squeakson making the ultimate sacrifice against a truckload of possessed furniture. He was tiny, Stamo reflects, but his ideas were adjustable.
This universe has emotional beats. Real pathos.
And alongside the films, the lore deepens significantly. We get the origin of Chairtron, the sentient furniture AI.
It wasn't just born, it was a synthesis. The chair splinters, a rogue intern spills espresso onto the remains, AI is introduced.
And Van Gogh's lingering emotional imprint provides the motive.
Its manifesto, I will never be sat upon again, and its army. Not robots, but possessed furniture, Ottoman blitzers, self-assembling IKEA legions, Cerny units.
Its weakness.
Yeah.
Soft cushion covers. And poignantly, Van Gogh's voice. The emotional core persists even in the villain.
Then there are Mayor Squeakson's cheese weapons, forged by the cheese myths of Wigan.
This isn't just a cool name. The sources specify they are squeak-activated. The Brie blade, fondue gauntlets, Edam shield.
The Stilton staff of vision that shows alternate timelines. And their power source, hope and jazz fusion.
The internal logic is consistently inconsistent and wonderful.
The Principality isn't just a digestive biscuit, it's a universe accessible via a shrinking wormhole activated by deep regret and marmalade.
Ruled by guinea pigs, has specific geographical features like Spoon Bay, and contains the Eternal Sock, a prison for Chairtron's consciousness.
Entry requires specific, bizarre steps of vivid childhood memory, something broken but loved, a pun, and the phrase, I squeak, therefore I am.
It's like a miniature edible Narnia with existential entry requirements.
And beneath Papa Roundhouse's pasta and karate, discovered via a powerful sneeze, lie the garlic mines of Maureen, home to the legendary Clove of Clarity.
The universe keeps expanding vertically and horizontally into the mundane. It's brilliant.
The sources even give us details from deleted scenes of the cheese court trial, the trial of the tiny.
Gillian Strongfold presiding, a guinea pig jury, John and Stamo's defense resting entirely on weird vibes.
Leading to Squeakson's acquittal. The narrative embraces its own cut content.
The deep lore continues with figures like the Stilton siblings from a fondue fountain, protectors of dairy logic with a triple crumble move.
Tuppence the guinea pig's secret mission, Operation Glowsphere, where he gains telepathic powers seeking an IKEA prophecy.
The Eternal Socks contents aren't just Chertron's soul. They include Alf Tonk's missing socks, a screaming library card, and a coded warning. Don't trust the Ottoman.
These specific grounding details make the absurdity richer.
And the recurring legends, the bony meadows of yesterday whispering cheese recipes, the Cupcake Dunge Bakery offering prophetic dreamberry cupcakes.
The mystery of the lost socks, attributed to a sock gnome battling shadow chairs. The midnight Umbatu opening portals through yoga. It's a mythology built from everyday objects and food items.
What these sources reveal is a narrative constantly finding new ways to justify its own existence and layer complexity onto its initial joke. It just keeps going.
And then the sources shift slightly, moving from the epic, universe-spanning CKCU to the more localized, but equally strange adventure centered around Springfield Township.
This is where we get our core cast of township characters. Maud, Madge, Osmond, Willard, Ralph, and Alf.
And the story reconnects with the Chertron lore in this new setting.
Specifically, Chertron's secret cache, a quest beneath the Springfield Township Library for the legendary Golden Recliner.
The clue hidden in The Art of Sitting Still, a book that requires the glow of Stilton cheese to reveal a map, of course.
The journey takes them to the library's history section, finding a hidden door, a spiral staircase descending into the unknown. The discovery process itself becomes part of the charm.
Tuppence proves his worth early here, scouting ahead and spotting a pressure plate trap.
And the source doesn't just say it's disarmed. It details how John does it, with Umbatu's remote guidance and Madge's tool belt, using a butter knife, string, and a bent hairpin. Resourceful heroes.
Love it. This leads them to the Golden Recliner Chamber, a treasure trove of ancient cheese, carved chairs, and the shimmering recliner.
And they meet Chertron's ancestor, not a boss to fight, but a guardian testing their character.
Through the trial of the three cushions, courage, wit, and heart. These trials aren't about physical prowess, they test their core nature.
Courage, crossing a rope bridge over cheese fondue, carrying Tuppence. Maud's steady hand is the key here.
Wit, solving a riddle. I squeak, but I'm not afraid. In a room of floating books, Maud's practical intelligence wins the day.
And heart, being placed in a chaotic memory of Maud's living room. The test isn't to fight or escape, but simply to sit quietly and offer tea. Anyone wants some peace.
A simple act of kindness and presence that calms the chaos. Maud chooses peace over action.
Maud passes, is chosen by the recliner, and the epilogue shows it bringing a measure of calm to her previously chaotic living room. The reward isn't power, but a symbol of domestic tranquility.
The township continues to offer more standalone adventures, each with its own unique blend of the mundane and the bizarre. Like Tuppence.
Tuppence's great escape. Tuppence goes missing, leading to a search party encountering a cheddar bandit rabbit following tracks into a storm drain.
This leads them to an entire underground guinea pig sanctuary. And Tuppence isn't just found, he's their emperor, the chosen one.
Glowing and levitating, sending a telepathic message to Maud. I will return, protect the surface.
Tuppence has a secret life. Amazing.
Or the grape incident. John, ever the avant-garde artist, ferments grapes in his locker, leading to a trial.
Garrett as judge, Ralph as defense lawyer, arguing the grapes were the victims. The sources capture the dialogue and the sheer silliness.
The sentence, garden duty, and a written apology to the fruit bowl.
Which gives us the image of a surreal garden montage with disco broccoli and a complaining Alf.
And the apology letter itself. A formal note to the fruit bowl, regretting hastening your natural journey toward winehood without consent.
The final grape twitching is the perfect, lingering, absurd detail.
And Madge and the Worm Circus. Madge's backyard enterprise with Slinky the Worm escapes.
Leading to a chaotic search that unearths an old tin box, the Springfield Garden Club time capsule.
Inside, a rusty key, cryptically carved. HTB under the bell before the fall.
This detail immediately links this seemingly isolated backyard story back to a larger mystery within the township.
The key points them to the school bell tower, revealing a trapdoor. They encounter a rival group here, Conrad, Garrett, Lori, and Steve the Binworm.
Steve the been warned.
but agree to share the discovery. The trapdoor is found.
Taking that key, they descend into the secret underground room below Springfield Elementary.
It's the hollow term basement. Murals, strange desks, a map of tunnels, and a deeply unsettling puppet stage with a Maude puppet.
And the map has a chilling warning. Head HTB Heart. Do not open. Of course.
And of course, Osmond pokes it, activating the HTB heart chamber gas lamps, moving paint jars, a giant stone heart. This is the source of the township's latent creativity, but it's unstable.
It's the art voice, demanding a trial of the four mediums. Paint, perform, sculpt, and accept the unknowable.
Each character faces a challenge reflecting their nature or the nature of the space.
Maude, facing the unknowable, has her shadow talk to her, "I'm you," when you stop asking questions. It's a deeply introspective moment amidst the weirdness.
Madge paints a portrait that resists completion. Ralph gives a dramatic monologue for crying puppets. Osmond sculpts his sadness into cheese. Willard just writes, "Let us start now, please."
Their art is their struggle.
Passing the trial reveals the HTB Final Term Project Notebook, Blueprints for the Art Engine, which runs on imagination but warns of art leaking if abandoned.
The message here seems clear. Creativity needs tending, or it gets messy.
They reactivate the engine with their diverse artistic contributions: mime, a dot, smashed clay, a napkin idea. The engine stabilizes the art, for now.
The epilogue confirms the warning was real. Art is leaking into the school, a giant ear screaming lasagna, frozen students.
The creative force is powerful and hard to contain.
But the very final township moment documented brings us back to Maude's sketchbook. A tiny door appears, opens.
And Tuppence, wearing a tiny beret, peeks out. Bonjour!
It's a bridge to the next realm, and perhaps the core of the creative impulse, which leads us to the ultimate transition chronicled in these sources into the sketchbook realm itself.
Maude and Tuppence step through the tiny door into the paper plane zone, a world literally made of paper. And here, Tuppence reveals his true identity.
Not just a pet.
Not just an emperor, but a royal scribe, the first sketch, the living doodle. His quiet competence finally explained.
The threat in this realm is the Doodle-Mass, not a monster, but the manifestation of resentful scribbled margins and unfinished drawings.
It wants to finalize everything, to impose harsh order, threatening both realms.
The quest is set by the Council of Sketches, erasers, protractors. Find the 3 lost stationary relics. A hero's journey using school supplies.
Their first step, the Gallery of Abandoned Projects.
A place haunted by unfinished art, sputtering volcanoes, muttering mugs, a dragon sculpture lacking a tail. Art with regrets.
The Guardian, a papier-mâché Shakespeare, demands an unfinished contribution to gain entry.
Maude's offering. A single sentence from her diary. "Dear diary, today I didn't do anything special."
It's accepted. Why? Because it represents a moment left unfinished, an ordinary day without a grand conclusion. It resonates with the spirit of the gallery.
Inside, they meet Mr. Minton, the cat with human hands, stepping out of his painting, complete with cravat and invisible tea.
He provides the key insight into the realm's conflict, the balance between creation and abandonment, and the Doodle-Mass born from the resentment of discarded ideas.
He confirms Tuppence's destiny as the opposite of the Doodle-Mass and offers Maude the pencil of possibility.
Its rule is simple. Draw becomes real, but only if your intent is clear. The power is linked to inner clarity, not just external action.
The Doodle-Mass is coming. Maude grips the pencil, faced with its chaotic, angry energy.
Yeah.
What does she draw?
She doesn't draw a weapon, a cage, or an escape route. The sources explicitly state her choice. She draws a hug.
Just a hug. The pencil glows, the gallery freezes, the Doodle-Mass, this tangle of angry, unfinished ideas, hesitates.
And the hug, drawn into existence, expands, glows, wraps around the mass.
It doesn't destroy it. It softens it. The mass becomes still, reorganizing not into finished pieces, but into soft, half-finished creatures that float towards peace.
The resolution is about acceptance, not completion.
Tuppence, ever the stoic critic, offers his approval. Kindness.
Mr. Minton nods, and Maude pins her drawing titled The Hug with a perfect caption. Not finished, but that's okay.
It's a powerful thematic statement about creativity and self-acceptance. Just
wow. The story continues to evolve, with hints of a sequel setting, the land of left-handed mistakes, a backward world home to lost almosts.
populated by characters like the erased prince, Tuppence's observation. Almosts live here.
Maude follows the erased prince down the might-have-been corridor, a path lined with flickering ghost choices, and a tracing paper mirror showing a vision. An older Maude looking lost, doing what's expected, not what she truly wants.
The prince's lesson is a stark one about conforming to external expectations. But Maud refuses this path. She demands a door, a way out that isn't defined by regret or expectation.
And the mirror rips open, revealing a glowing doorway to the currency realm, a place where ideas themselves are the commodity.
Maud has no conventional currency, but the source shows her creating new ideas, a story tree, a lantern, a creature to earn credit. She meets the merchant of ideas.
The merchant offers her a choice, a key to 3 doors: Forgotten Whispers, Endless Beginnings, or Timeless Tales.
It's a meta-commentary on how we approach stories, or even our own lives.
And Maud's final documented choice, the door of Timeless Tales.
A fitting place for a character whose journey has been about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, accepting imperfection, and using kindness as a force.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay. What an extraordinary and frankly bizarre journey you've taken us on with these sources. From 2 old lads kicking a chair in Wigan due to cheese guilt
And a mouse.
and a mouse, through a universe populated by sentient furniture, rodent mayors, underground art engines, paper realms of abandoned ideas, and lands of lost almosts.
It's a wild ride, but looking back, some clear themes emerge. The power of unintended consequences, certainly.
Yeah.
But also the surprising value of kindness and empathy in the face of chaos from Van Gogh, recognizing the value of noticing the small life, to Maud's final act of drawing a hug for a mass of resentment.
It highlights finding magic and meaning not just in epic battles,
Yeah.
but in the profoundly mundane. A mouse becoming mayor, the quest for lost socks, the drama of a worm circus.
The quiet strength of offering tea.
Right. It's about challenging expectations, illustrated by that corridor of might-have-beens, and ultimately finding freedom and peace and accepting that not everything has to be perfectly finished right away.
This deep dive, guided by your sources, really shows us how a simple, even silly idea, when explored without constraint and with a willingness to embrace the absurd, can unravel into something vast, meaningful, and unexpectedly moving.
So as we wrap up this dive into this unique creative process, you, listening now, what seemingly small, perhaps chaotic or unfinished idea in your world could potentially unravel into something vast and unexpected if you just kept going. What unfinished stories are waiting for you, not necessarily to be rushed to a perfect conclusion, but simply waiting for you to return and see where they might lead.
A question to ponder as the journey continues.
It certainly is. Thank you for bringing us this particularly unusual deep dive. It was quite the adventure.